so this lady's like, big deal, straight shows like, nigga this, nigga that like, don't lie, you know how I sound like. I'm in this beat, so this lady's like,
Hello everyone, welcome back. My name is Hector Torres. We're here at Winback at 2025 Nashville ASPT Annual Conference, and I'm here with our infamous Laura Ramus. Laura, how are you doing today?
I'm doing fantastic, Hector. I'm so excited to be here at the Academy and this conference. I haven't been here in so many years. It's been over 8 years because it's always held in the summertime, and I've been working the WNBA for these last 24 seasons. But,
well, that's pretty awesome. I got to tell you, it's something that you should be very proud of. Mm-hmm. So talk to me. I'm like, you've been, you're the director of the Winback Academy, and talk to me, how did that come around?
Well, it was really a unique experience, actually just being oriented or introduced to TECAR Therapy. Again, as somebody in professional sports, you're always being approached with different technologies. It might be the latest and greatest nutrition. It might be the latest and greatest in sports and performance or recovery. In this case, it was in a rehabilitation piece of equipment. And it was something that really intrigued me because after I started to utilize it, just in the first season back in 2020 during the COVID season, it was an X factor. It was the only thing that we did differently in our season, and it changed. We didn't have a player miss a regular season practice or game because of injury. And the only thing we had different in that bubble season was TECAR Therapy.
Wow, that's fascinating. So TECAR, talk to me about TECAR, because many people could tell you, I'm like, TECAR, what does that even mean?
Right, absolutely. Well, the first thing is, even if you say, what is TECAR? It's transfer energy, both capacitive and resistive. It probably doesn't tell you a whole lot. And so we step back a little and say, what does the human body respond to? The human body responds to light, and that's our laser therapies. It responds to sounds, that's our ultrasound. It responds to shockwave, therapies we're used to. But it also responds to electricity. We actually human bodies run on electricity, and that's what TECAR Therapy is. It's a high-frequency electrical current, and there's a very specific electric current that this is a frequency, and that's between 300 to 1200 kilohertz, in which that frequency, when introduced to the cellular body, into the human body, actually changes and has a permeability, both intra and extracellular. So it goes through the cells. If you're a higher frequency energy or a lower frequency energy, it just bounces off those cells.
Wow, interesting, fascinating. So what are the main benefits that practitioners can expect when using the Winback TECAR Therapy?
Well, when you're looking at TECAR, it has two main components, like we talked about. The transfer of energy is capacitive. That capacitive part of it really focuses on connective tissue, or all of it's focused on connective tissue, but that which is high water content. So your skin, your fascia, your muscles. The other piece is resistive. So TECAR is that resistive energy. That's going to focus on your dense muscle tissue or your dense connective tissue. So it's going to your tendons, your ligaments, your cartilage, even bone and cartilage. And so that's where we can focus on both treating or supporting acute and chronic connective tissue or musculoskeletal injuries.
Wow, it's fascinating because you just typed into it, like, what type of conditions that we could implement TECAR Therapy that can be most effective.
Yeah, and that's the unique thing. It's primarily focused on orthopedics and musculoskeletal, but the unique part is it can be an acute injury. So this could be somebody who sprains their ankle, and you can use TECAR Therapy in that acute stage to help support the inflammatory process. So instead of wrapping that ankle in ice and compressing it, we can use TECAR Therapy to help support the inflammatory process and decrease that inflammatory process and get it to that next healing stage. Or you can take it to the other end of the spectrum. You can use it for somebody who's got a chronic 12-month-old patella tendinosis, and we can utilize it to help, again, support the inflammatory process, but also to help heal that connective tissue. We can have regenerative aspects to that connective tissue, to that cartilage tissue. So it can be used from all spectrums. We can use this with the elderly population with arthritic knees. So wide use.
That is fascinating. So you could tell me that the results you could see them immediately.
Absolutely. Pain reduction is something that we see immediately, and oftentimes it's as much as a 50% pain reduction.
That is fascinating. And talk to me about this new Care Plus program. What are the new Back4 revision? Talk to me about that.
Yeah, the Care Plus program has two pieces of it. Number one, it has a piece that allows us as clinicians, when we're first learning what TECAR therapy is, it really gives us guided treatment. So you can choose your tissue that you need to treat. So again, for example, maybe it's a nerve problem that somebody has, and we can just touch on that nerve. And then maybe it's a subacute problem. Touch on subacute, and it will give guidelines on exactly what's the optimal utilization of it. So you don't have to be an expert in understanding the technology and still start to get great results right off the get-go as you're building your skill set. The other piece that's even more interesting to me is just the hands-free piece of it, because again, as therapists, the ability to be able to have a hands-free component. So for example, within the therapeutics, within physical therapy piece, we have the ability to have a program that focuses on pain. We have the ability to focus on something for muscle strengthening. So say we're working on your rotator cuff after you've had a rotator cuff surgery, or if we're doing a non-operative when you've got a weak rotator cuff or weak shoulder muscles, we can put the TECAR on, and we have these sticky pads so we can put the TECAR on, and you're running that TECAR therapy through, but you also, now we have the ability to have muscle stimulation along with it. So what we found is when we include this with your rehabilitation program that you're doing, we get a greater muscle output. So from EMG, so the same exercise done with TECAR and the EMG and the EMS on, this Care Plus program on, we get significant greater increases in EMG output of that muscle with this on versus without it, and also significant motor output. So when we strength test how much force output you're putting with this on versus without it on, it's huge increases, like 10, 20, 30% increases in force.
That is amazing. So if someone's injured, their recovery is going to come by 2 times faster.
Absolutely, because what's associated oftentimes with injury, or even when you're doing your strength training programs, is pain. And pain, it's all covered by the brain. So when you have pain, it's a chemical reaction that it decreases the ability of a muscle to contract. And so if we can control the pain, then the muscle can contract.
Exactly.
Can contract better also.
Exactly.
So there's so many things that are going into the science
This
of
is
it.
fascinating. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. So talk to me. Talk to me about the Winback Academy. Talk to me when the role, where does the academy falls into play when a practitioner purchases the product?
Well, what's so important about this as a clinician is that the technology is amazing, but that's only one piece of the puzzle, because the technology is only going to be as good as what the user is doing with it. And that's what really intrigued me about this, is because you can use it yourself. You can put bracelets on, and I can just be doing my manual therapy technique, and I can get the energy, those internal benefits that we just talked about, those physiological benefits are not just now from my hands from an external perspective, but also that internal perspective. So the Winback Academy, number one is the idea is to teach you to optimize this amazing technology. And then the second piece of it is for you to, as a clinician, be able to decide, do I want to be an expert in this? Do I want to take this to a next level? Do I want to learn how to use this higher level sports medicine? Do I want to use it for women's health? Do I want to use it for aesthetics? So the whole academy is set up to have different phases based off of what your interests are, but for you to be able to optimize the technology and optimize it in your practice. So for your athletes, for your clients.
That is fascinating. So the support is the support. How often is the support for the clinician?
Yeah.
Is it consistent? Talk to me. How often is it?
Sure, absolutely. And again, this is what we call our educational journey. So everybody goes through a 2-hour introductory where they learn what the TECAR therapy is. They learn the machine, all the parts and pieces, and how they set up. So when they finish that first 2-hour, either in person or virtual training, they have the basics to be able to be successful with their patients the next hour that they start treating.
Perfect.
Then the next phase is to do a 2-hour session with a professional trainer. So with a physical therapist, a chiropractor, someone who is a clinician who can really focus on what your practice is. So at that time, we dive deep into what your clinical specialty is and find out what kind of diagnoses do you treat? What kind of clients are you seeing? What are your goals with it? And we dive deep into it. So that's level 1, professional training. And with all these, you get a certificate. You get to get your continuing education units. And then if you get a Back4, level 2 training is for us to teach you that Care Plus package. How can I utilize all of these other parts? Because I only went over therapeutics,
Yes.
but Care Plus also has a whole sports package where we can incorporate utilizing this to maximize your core strength training program, your plyometrics. It's got a Tabata for, again, kind of your CrossFit type of workout. So if you're doing a CrossFit workout, how you can incorporate this into it to, whether you're injured or not injured, to optimize your training.
Interesting, fascinating to see. I'm like, so one, you're freeing hands. I'm like, freeing time off, making additional revenue for all these other additional packages you're able to offer for your own practice. It's a game changer. So looking ahead, where do you see yourself, the future for TECAR Therapy headed?
It's so interesting because the journey that I have seen with TECAR Therapy is that it started actually from a rehabilitation standpoint. It started in the United States. The first part of this high frequency energy started in France, but the utilization of it in rehabilitation started in Detroit. But it fell by the wayside in the early 1980s, but Europe, Spain, Italy continued to really develop it. So it is now being reintroduced into the United States, and for us, I think it starts at the grassroots of users like myself, and then we know that it's really gaining momentum because we were interviewed for the next Physical Agents book in physical therapy, which goes over all the modalities, and that's being recognized as one of the hottest and most talked about new modalities in the United States for, again, connective tissue.
So now listening for clinicians listening and who are curious about this technology, what is the first step that they need to do to get information about TECAR technology?
Sure. I think the number one thing is go on to the Winback Academy. Anybody can go on the Winback Academy, and you can just go and see what it is. We've written we've been published in the International Journal of Sports Physical Therapy. Louis Lepowitz, myself, Ken Johnson from Johns Hopkins, and we wrote, again, a clinical symposium on what TECAR therapy is, what research backs it, what is the philosophy. So number one, go to the Winback Academy and get information from there. Look up the International Journal of Sports Physical Therapy in the April issue. Great article which describes what TECAR therapy is. And, contact us, and we'll be more than happy to also just, we're going to be doing some lectures at some of the universities, some of the PhD physical therapy programs.
Cool. Laura, thank you so much for your time. I really do appreciate your passion, your dedication, your drive for TECAR Therapy. Literally, it keeps me keep on moving forward. So now, for those who are interested in getting more information in reference to TECAR Therapy, make sure to visit winback.com and drop us a message below, and we'll be glad to help you out as much as possible. Thank you so much for joining us today, and I'll see you guys later. Take care. Bye-bye.
Big deal, great shows like, making this, make it act like,